Okay, guys, I hope majority of the people are already there. Uh, Hello, everyone. My name is Sudhir Kumra, and I'm an IT professional, and I work for Transport for London here in UK. And I'm part of Mangalam Group, which is basically a charity organization working here in Southwest London. We warmly welcome you to the Mangalam and the Aura Power webinar. We understand the severity of the current climate and the sheer impact on our society's mental and physical health today. We have gathered various people who, with their expertise in their fields, will help us to give advice as an attempt to improve our physical and emotional well-being. When time gets tough, self-negotiation, negligence is likely to happen. We all know that. Therefore, we are here to, serve as an optimistic reminder to continue to protect all of the aspects of the human health, from skin care to dental care and whatnot. We again welcome all the viewers from all around the world. We at Mangalam Group primarily work towards community by various means like celebrating festive seasons like Holi, Diwali, New Year, Christmas, and so many other things. We also organize charity events, both cultural and religious. The difficult situation that not only we, but the entire world is in today with COVID-19, we had thrown the innovative idea of doing something to help and engage with the community effectively during this pandemic. We shared the idea initially with the Mangalam group internally, and later on we shared it on the social media platforms. The idea was thankfully very well received by the people. Majorly, we primarily focused around mental and physical health during the difficult period we have all been going through. Our aim through these webinars will be to provide practical solutions to the challenging issues that we are all grappling with in today's time. We got engaged with professionals who are experts and highly skilled and educated with the enriched experience in their respective fields and areas. We at Mangalam are grateful to all our panelists tonight for joining hands with us to help towards this great cause. As we are already on Zoom, so I don't need to guide you how to get into the Zoom. We are already there. But I would like to quickly go through the format of the presentation. It's like we have a different set of panelists, and each expert panelist will be delivering presentation on their respective topic and areas that they specialize in and possess skill and knowledge in. All the viewers will be muted while the presentation is on its way. As you can see, you all are muted at the moment. And this will apply to all the session until the last expert has finished. We appreciate that during the session, you may have questions or topics that you may have more clarity on. While the session is on the way, please type in your questions or queries that you may have in the chat window, and please address it to the admin, otherwise we may lose it. These questions will be put together by our backend team. We have got a solid backend team. We are working hard behind the scenes, and our guest speakers will try to answer as many questions as they can within the speculated time frame. But we can't guarantee that all the questions can be answered in today's session. But if you mention your email address along with your question, we will try to email you back the answers as soon as possible. At the end of the presentation, there will be a link to the survey site that we'll be providing. And this is just an opening session for now. We'll be doing another series of these kind of sessions, and your feedback will be taken as a suggestion for creation of the content for the upcoming sessions. So we highly encourage you to feed us back with your valuable input. Without taking too much of time, this is time to get on with our panelists. Can I please welcome someone who I personally know for more than 15 years. She is an ideal when it comes to study, knowledge, diving into the depth of everything, and basically complete dedication to everything that she does. She is going to share her enriched experience and knowledge around one of the vital topics, not only in today's situation, but also in our day-to-day life in general. Yes, Dr. Sapna Garg is general dental practitioner with over 10 years of experience in both NHS and private dentistry here in UK. Sapna has also attained a post-graduation certification in fixed and removable prosthodontics from King's College London. There are various topics related to how COVID has affected dentistry. We can spend hours and hours talking about it, but today mainly she'll be focusing on the facial hygiene and mask protection. So here is Dr. Sapna Garg. Sapna, over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sudhir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for logging in this lovely afternoon. My topic for today is facial protection and mask protection and facial hygiene, sorry. Let's start with facial hygiene. As you all know, it is very important. Now, why is it important? It is important, next slide please, as we know that there is a danger triangle on our face. Now there lies a danger triangle. It is triangular in shape, that is why it is called danger triangle. It's very important. It is lined by both sides, by sides of the nose, as you can see in the picture, median angles of the eye and the upper lip. Now, next question comes to our mind is it a matter of concern? Yes, it is. As we can see in our next slide, it is a big concern indeed. Next slide, please. There are plenty of veins in the face which can carry infection to the brain, and the infection can also carry to our lungs. Hands, which are very important part of the body, they act as a vehicle for transmission of these infections. So from hands, it goes to the mouth, to the lungs, and to the other part of the body. At the moment, COVID-19 is the major infection going on, which is affecting our lungs, and it's causing difficulty breathing. That is the main worry going on at the moment. Why should we worry? Next slide, please. Now, as we can see in this picture, there is a virus sitting there. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? But the disease, we know it has affected the whole world. We need to talk about its transmission now, briefly. Next slide, please. The main routes of transmission for the coronavirus, as we all know, is directly and indirectly through people's contact, respiratory droplets, and it's by infecting other people. Now, if we see immediate environment, if we touch the surfaces there and we take that hand to our mouth, we are carrying the infection to our body. Another is the airborne transmission. Now, all these transmissions, they are affected our body, and the saliva is a medium as well that takes the infection in our body. That is why it's very important to stay away 2 meters from a person who is infected. Now, we need to know about little symptoms as well. Next slide, please. If we see about the symptoms, the disease was started. Now, yeah, have a look at the left side picture. You can see the disease started with simple symptoms. They are temperature, cough, and breathing difficulties. Now, if we look at the picture on the right, we can see the symptoms have increased immensely. Now, with these new symptoms, they are emerging every now and again, like loss of taste, smell, and most recent one being the inflammatory signs in children. Next slide, please. Apart from all these, the disease has got psychological impact as well. As we can see, it affects oral health directly and indirectly. Now, if you're having any psychological issues, it affects the teeth. For example, let's take an example of depression. If you are depressed, it's more than simply feeling down in the dumps. Patients with depression, they neglect mouth. That is the most important thing of your body. There are some medications which, like, if you are taking them like antidepressants, they cause dry mouth. Now, if you are having a dry mouth and you are having an existing gum disease, these all make the gum disease worse. So poor oral health leads to gum disease, and it aggravates existing respiratory symptoms as well. Like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, it makes it difficult to breathe. Importance here is, I would recommend, like, as you are aware, it's very important whenever you go and see any dentist or a medical professional, you need to keep your medical history updated. Now, next comes the question, what can you do at home when you are stuck inside? That's very important. For home care, you can practice good oral hygiene, brush twice daily, the latest being sneeze in your elbows. You need to floss daily. Why is flossing important? Flossing is important because you can't reach the surfaces which you can reach by toothbrush. Brushing twice daily is very important. It helps maintain decrease of the saliva, viral load in the saliva. So that is important as well. We need to avoid sugary snacks in between meals. You can swap them with healthy snacks like raw carrots, hummus, nuts, and everything. Once the lockdown is over, we all need to make sure that we go and see our dentist regularly. Wearing face masks, that is another major issue going on. My next slide will be on mask protection. How do masks help? Do they help or not? Yes, they act as a barrier between yourself and the environment. They help to avoid touching your face. When you are wearing a mask, your face doesn't go into your infection doesn't go into your mouth. That is very important. It helps protect the spread of virus. But now, when you are leaving the house, it's very important that you are having some kind of protection. There are various types of masks in the market. Now, if we touch on the types of masks, next slide, please. Yeah. Various types of masks, we can see surgical masks, respiratory masks, and the third type are the homemade masks. All these masks, they look similarly, but they are different. They are different, as you can see. US Centers of Disease and Control and Protection, they recommend that all citizens, they have to wear a cloth mask now, essentially, when they are having trips out and about of their house. What is the difference between these masks? As we compare these masks, on the next slide, we can see mainly there are two main types, surgical and respiratory masks. They both are of same category, but they are different. As we know, surgical masks, they are loosely fitting. And as we see, the other types of mask, respiratory masks, they are bit tightly fitting. So there is a difference. There is a leakage around surgical mask, but there is very minimal leakage around the other types of masks. There is a third type, which obviously you can't see in the picture clearly. It's called respiratory mask with the face piece. These are very high-end masks, which they have to be fit tested. You can't just use them like the other types of masks. Now, finally comes the homemade masks. Homemade masks, we all know that we need to reserve the other types of masks for frontline workers. So here comes the role of homemade cloth masks. They remind you to avoid touching your face like all other masks, but they are washable, durable, and they can be personalized, as we can see. But we need to know that they are woven masks. They are made up of cloth. So they are more porous than other types of masks. Moreover, hand washing with soap and water is still recommended, no matter which type of mask you are using. In summary, we need to say, if we go to the next slide, we all need to maintain oral hygiene, protect our danger triangle of the face. We need to stay home, stay safe, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Sapna, for the excellent presentation, which was full of easy to implement techniques, but yet effective advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next guest tonight is Nimit Shishodia. Nimit is a cosmic healer and certified Reiki master. I'm not sure how many of us know about Reiki and what it is all about. In fact, until I met Nimit. His healing profession has been a journey into the insight and exploration of vast universe that lies within each one of us. His passion for holistic and scientific methods to fuse science and spirituality started it all and have made him devote to meditate with sciences. His healing solutions are very scientific and result oriented. Nimit is also a coach and motivational speaker. We are looking forward to hearing about his special science and positivity. So Nimit, over to you.
Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you for the great introduction. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, based on the time zone, you guys. And I really appreciate that you are dialing in from all over the world for this session. And as Sudhir mentioned, that this is for a greater cause for the humanity to help each other during this crisis. Now, touching on the Reiki, Reiki is a form of naturopathy, and it's basically derived from ancient sort of times to help human being. Like one of the times you might have seen pictures of Bible where Jesus was putting the hand and then he was fixing the problems. That's kind of where the origination of Reiki comes from. Reiki means spiritual healing, which is used for treating physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual diseases. Typically, healers use their hands to channel this energy or the ki, which is guided by the universal spirit or the nature. So if you join the two words together, Rei and Ki, means the energy which is guided by the nature. Our body, it needs energies to live, to survive, to do something, and we get energy from the food, we get energy from our environment, we get energy from pretty much everything. And Reiki is a form of natural energy, the cosmic energy, which actually helps you to live better and fix any problems you might have. Now, in the Reiki philosophy, as most of us might know about the yoga and the chakra, the endocrine system of the body, it represents the three aspects or three vertical of our life, of our as a human being. So if we have to check it down, our life is actually presented in three areas. One is a mind, body, Other one is body, third one is spirit. So our existence in this universe lies in these three spheres, and these three form a triangle, and they should be in balance. In the middle, you have 7 chakras starting from the bottom all the way to top. And these are the chakras which are actually positioned in your body, where you have major glands across the body. When there is a problem start to happen, it actually happens in a psychological body first before it comes to a physical body. And these chakras, they get sort of imbalanced, and then it causes emotional, mental, and physical sort of diseases because the blockages during those chakras. So what we do in Reiki, we actually heal those chakras. We make the circular motion as they were before. And that's what Reiki treatment basically aids on, to fixing these chakras and the balances so the life goes on normally. Now, during these times, because we all are locked down at home, and typically Reiki is something you think that you have to do, physically be there. There's a method in Reiki, it's called as distance healing, and I often come across how does it work actually. So healing could be sent across the world anywhere, irrespective of time and space where the recipient is sitting. And this is done because we all are connected through a bigger superconscious network. And that's how the telepathy, clairvoyance, and things like precognition, they happens, because we all can actually talk to each other. If you think our independent minds, there are independent entities which are connected on a very big internet, or the universe, you call it. So these minds can talk to each other. And that's how a Reiki healer can actually connect to any healer anywhere in the world, and actually send out the Reiki healings to anyone. Now, how does this become prominent during these times? And as we know, and we'll talk more about it, the other panelists will hear from it, that during the lockdown, I mean, it certainly is a challenge in a lot of aspects of our life, commercial, social, spiritual, and we're talking about psychological here. And as we know that since the lockdown has been imposed, we're seeing increased cases in depression, domestic violence has gone up, and addiction to alcohol and other things have gone up, because people are just, what you would do if you asked to be lived in a cage. So this is increasing, and at the same time, the need of naturopathy therapies like Reiki becoming more prominent, because a remote therapy like Reiki can help in all these problems and actually get us back to our life. Now, with that, I like to conclude and say that healing does not mean that the damage never existed. Or in scenarios today, I mean, we know there's virus out there. We know that people are dying. We can't do much about it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but it means that damage does not control our life, and that's the whole purpose of going through a session like Reiki. So you get on with your life and become healthy and live peacefully. That's it for me. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Nimit. Thank you so much. Hopefully, through the sciences of Reiki, we can all increase the levels of positivity in our lives. Thank you again. And I'm sure each one of us will be looking forward to get a deeper dive into it in your forthcoming sessions. Cool. Okay, next, let me introduce you to Priyanka Mata, who is the CEO of the Aura Power that you use today. Priyanka is a very enterprising person, and she is an MBA from Royal Holloway University in London. She has been working in technology since last 15 odd years, and her company also worked with Apple to launch the first iPhone. She has founded 3 IT companies, namely Shrimp Technologies, which is a technical consulting company, and worked on the contactless technology like Visa, check imaging, etc. Silver Skin portfolio, which aims to change the world of Bollywood and media, which is now the Aura Power. She is going to share her experiences around mystics and life coaches, aiming towards talk therapy, helping in de-stressing the individuals. Here is Priyanka for you.
Thanks, Sudhirji, and thank you everybody for joining. So basically, to start with, I touch on the pandemic and how that impacts and how that's impacting our lives. So I think in our lifetime, this is the biggest event that has happened that has actually impacted the whole world, so that we are all in lockdown and we're all in this together. There are a lot of similarities between what people experienced during a trauma and what they're experiencing today, being at home, and basically that can be recognized when we look at certain signs, which I'm going to talk about. And there are massive implications which can actually be lasting significantly throughout our lifetimes of this time. And they can be physical to some people, especially who experience COVID-19 as a disease. But for those of us who've had other implications, whether it's financial or whether it's physical in a different way, not been able to kind of go out. So I think basically it's very important for us to kind of, first of all, feel that we are all in this together and we will get through this, and keep that positive mindset. Now, something that usually helps mental health and connection is basically kind of being together and having that social connection when we connect with each other and we physically touch or hug each other, which we can't do at the moment. So that doesn't mean that there are other things which we can't do. And so here comes TAP in picture. Now, TAP, or the Aura Power, is a project that aims to minimize the scars that this pandemic will leave on us for the lifetime. It's a place where we have brought together different coaches from different aspects of life, starting from some of the ancient sciences, whether it's Reiki, as Nimit was just talking about, or whether it's astrology, which is another science, or whether it's various other sciences like regression therapies and various other things, versus some of the scientific bend to it, where we have specifics, whether it's business or whether it's specific queries and specific things we're going to talk about, to an expert on that particular area. Now, what is aura? Aura itself is a field of energy around all of us, and it's a field of energy around all the individuals. And there are around 7 chakras of aura that has been identified, but there can be more. So from that aspect, if you think about it, whether it's a planet like Jupiter, or whether it's basically something like a nut, or whether it's a bee, everything has an aura or this field of energy around them. So basically, looking at aura, the higher we basically go spiritually, our aura gets stronger when we experience the highness of spirituality just generally. And from that aspect, the aura power help you to go up spiritually within your life. And as we basically go up spiritually, our mental health becomes better. And so that's the concept we have used for this particular project, where we've got all these gurus or experts together, and you can choose which guru do you want to talk to. So next, please. So basically, with the universe to enable us, basically, when our aura gets stronger, there are positive things which we can do. Now, we just spoke about the pandemic, but now thinking about the law of attraction, when we have more synchronicity with the universe, we are able to attract abundance. We can attract basically various things like a great relationship which we're longing on. And if you think about it, we've never had so much time to give ourselves than in this lockdown, where we can work on our aura and work on ourselves for the betterment, whether it's physical or whether it's basically mental and spiritual. And I call all my experts light workers. We basically try and bring light in your life. So coming back to the mental health, in this pandemic, there's certain subliminal signs which you can note, where you can see that, are you stressed or not? They include, are you more irritable? Do you get irritated easily? You using more alcohol than you normally do? If you're drinking more than you normally do, finding yourself out of balance and just feeling that balance is not there. And sometimes just having that feeling of loneliness, especially if you're in a different country and you're stuck there and you can't go home and you feel helpless, and then that basically impacts you and your mind. So sometimes we don't realize that. So basically, At Aura, we have split coaches into Mystic Coach as well as Life Coach. Now, the Mystic Coach, I think we've already well versed, especially if you're from Indian background, you'd know, you've been going to an astrologer, tarot. We don't see them as somebody who can tell you future, because most of the stress comes to us when we think about future. But they are more like counselors who would also give you astrology advice and look at what your nakshatra says, but also tell you and counsel you in regards to going toward positivity. So that's basically the gist of it. And coming to life coaches, basically, whether it's anxiety, whether it's stress, if you have an aim, for example, you want to lose weight and you're not eating right, or you want your skin to improve, this is the time to work on yourself and help that self-image and basically get there. So that's the aim of this. Next, please. I just had like a short screenshot here to just show you basically. This is just an external help. Of course, this is self-help more than anything else, and you have to help yourself. But this is just to show for people who are not very well versed with technology, that as soon as you sign in, you will be able to basically register and just book an appointment. So it's usually half an hour appointment, because I don't think you need more than that. And at the end of the session, we will be basically also giving out a discount voucher, so that, you know, because we understand what financial impact everybody has had. But that's basically what the Aura Power is. And I think it's going to be very, very helpful if you join us. If you think that you need somebody and you cannot afford to pay at all, then please write to us, and we would make sure that you have an expert available and give you a session for free as well. So that's my promise to you today if you're joining the session. So yeah, we'll do that. So I think that's mostly it from my side.
Yeah, thank you very much, Priyanka. I think this form of healing sounds very interesting and seems to be a very useful way to, you know, enhance our mental well-being. Thank you again for your valuable input, Priyanka. Okay, our next guest speaker tonight is Charlotte Hapfel-Bell, who is a life coach at the Aura Power. She has about 10 years of experience in Hollywood industry, and she has not only done the commercials, but also worked as an actress and model. Oh my God, sounds so exciting already, doesn't it? Okay, over to you, Charlotte.
Thank you for the introduction. Hi, I'm Charlotte, and I work with Priya as the life coach at the Aura Power. She's been really great and helped me a lot with this, and I'd like to talk to you about both internal and external beauty during the lockdown. Now, beauty is something that comes in two forms. First is the internal beauty, and that's what we mean by under the skin, and that's nutrients and just general well-being and feeling good about yourself. And then there's the external, which is of course how you can look good and what makeups you can use to enhance yourself and make yourself feel better. So one of my first tips would be to shop locally. This is something I do every week. When we buy food that's been imported, it loses nutrients, because every time you import food, especially on planes, it has to be covered in preservatives. And also just that transportation time, like, you know, the particles in the food are just wasted and they're not actually being conserved in the food. So I always go to my local farmers market and I pick local vegetables, and I go to the fishmongers and all things like that. And it's not just about feeling good about the food you eat, it's about that sense of community as well, because you're actually going out and meeting people, you're not just ordering things online or just going through the self-service in a checkout. You're actually supporting your community, and that can make us all feel good inside as well. So that's just something I personally do, and I just believe everyone else should try and do as well. My second point would be to eat macrobiotic foods. If you don't know what that is, that's mainly pulses, lentils, brown rice, things like that. I don't eat red meat, very little dairy. Brown rice is very good for iron content and B vitamins. This is especially important for women of a certain age, because we need B vitamins to keep our red blood cells high and stop us getting anemic. And that can happen to many women, it's very common. So we want to keep our strength up as much as possible during this outbreak. My third point would be get outside and get some sunlight. Vitamin D is so important for strong bones and a good immune system. We're so lucky to have the sun at the moment where we are. I don't know where everyone's watching from, but if you have any sunlight, you have to get out and get some vitamin D. And if you don't, just take a supplement. Vitamin D supplements are great. I take them nearly every day. If we live in England, no one gets their recommended amount of vitamin D from the sunlight. So we all have to take vitamin D tablets. So that's a really important thing. And it's just good for general well-being as well, because when you're outside, just nature is healing for me, I feel. My fourth point is to get enough sleep, because during these times I've met a lot of people that have said they found it hard to keep their sleep patterns, because when they haven't had work, they just fall into bad routines, and that routine can make us feel tired and groggy, and it affects something called the circadian rhythm, which is when our general patterns of sleep and waking up and during being awake during the day and being asleep during at night. And if we disrupt those systems, we can feel quite disorientated and tired, and it just affects your general well-being. So try and stay in a good routine, and sleep is also good for repairing the cellular damage inside, so it's really important for healing. Could I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So this is the next slide's on external beauty tips. So this is more about how we look, and I don't know if it's important to you, but for me as a model, it's important, and it's also good to feel good, you know, and feel happy about yourself. But I always feel like we don't want to cover ourselves up with loads of makeup. For me, I personally believe less is more. I very rarely put a lot of makeup on my face. For my skin today, I just put a little bit of concealer around problem areas. For me, it's around my nose, like I get redness, especially when I get hay fever and stuff. You know, be blowing your nose, or, you know, if you've got redness anywhere like blemishes, just put a little bit of concealer there, but the rest you can just cover up with certain products, like a CC cream, for example. I've got one here. It's called Your Skin But Better, and it just fills in those little blemishes, and it just makes the skin clearer, and it looks nicer, but it's not heavy. It doesn't sink into cracks. It doesn't exacerbate problems. It's just very light. It's not quite a foundation, but it's a bit stronger than a tinted moisturizer. And CC stands for color correction. So if you've got like blemishes or anything that are just not strong blemishes, but just small blemishes, it will cover them up and it will reflect the light, and it just gives you this really nice natural glow. So that's something that I'd recommend. We don't need to wear a lot of makeup during lockdown because we're not really going anywhere. So if you can get away with not wearing anything on your skin at all, that would be what I'd recommend, because your skin does need to breathe. So, but if you don't quite feel confident with that, then just a really light CC cream or BB cream would be my recommendation. For exercise, I would invest in some good personal home exercise equipment. For me, I got this thing called Squat Magic, and it's really great for toning glutes. That's my problem area. I don't know what everyone else works on, but I'd just say get some home weights, or get something that you can do easily in your house. If you're not that keen on weights, or if you can't do weights, then why don't you just invest in an app that can count your steps, and you can go for walks and count your steps and set goals and targets. And it's just really simple things that we can do if we haven't got a gym. There's loads of exercise tutorials online as well, yoga presentations. I followed some on Instagram Live, done online yoga classes and stuff like that. You can probably find them on YouTube as well. So, you know, there's loads of help out there for getting active. It's just finding that motivation. It can be quite hard. For hair, I know a lot of people have been struggling, especially if they're getting roots or their hair's getting too long. It can be quite risky doing your own hair, but I found a really good product that actually you can do at home. They've actually brought out their own, it's Josh Wood Colour, and he's a professional hairstylist, celebrity hairstylist. He colours people's hair like Elle Macpherson, he's done David Bowie in the past, some really famous celebrities. And he's just brought out a home hair care range, which you can get from, you can either get it from it directly, or you can get it from Boots, and it's not too expensive. And it's got some really easy, simple products that can just cover up greys and roots, and they can come in any colour from natural black to lightest blonde. And if you've got roots coming through, the easiest product I've seen is the spray-on dye, where you can just spray it on your roots and it just blends in. And they've got an online tutorial where you can actually pick what colour you want, so they can help you find your shade and tone. So if you go online to their actual website, you will be able to see a guide of how to actually apply the hair product as well. One thing I would say though is please do an allergy test before you use any product like this, because obviously you don't want to have an allergic reaction. I'd say about 48 hours before using, always do a patch test. I usually do one behind the ear, so if you do have an allergic reaction, it's not going to be too obvious. Finally, for skin saviors, I found a really good product which can sort of replace getting a facial at the spa, and it's a Teresa Tami cryo ball, and it's a ball that you store in a cold place like a fridge or a freezer, and when you take it out you massage it onto the skin, and it's called ice therapy. And what it does is it takes away all your puffiness, it plumps up the skin, it makes you feel renewed. It's a really good facial alternative for just sitting at home not being able to get to the salon. It is quite expensive and there are cheaper products out there, but this is the best one. So if you wanted to just search for your own ones, just search for ice therapy skincare treatments and you'll find a different range. But this is a really good one. It is £120 though, roughly, so it's up to you whether you want to invest in that sort of thing. But yeah, so that's basically it from me, but I'm happy to take any questions later. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Cheers, Charlotte. I think Charlotte has very clearly definitely shown us the impact that our external beauty can have on our mental health.
Yeah.
And how we can maintain our internal beauty as well alongside. Thank you very much again, Charlotte, indeed.
Thanks.
Okay. Our next panelist tonight is someone that I met in one of the talent shows. She's a very good mimicry artist, dancer, singer, but that's one side of it, which is basically her hobbies. But the better part is, let me introduce to Bhagyashree, who works as an advanced practitioner, like physiotherapist in NHS and private clinics with over 80 years of experience. Her area of expertise is orthopedics conditions. Her area of interest is rheumatology and joint steroid injections. She's going to talk us through the possible key effects of lockdown today and possible factors affecting on, my God, how do you do it? I can't say it. Musculoskeletal health, focusing on spine and peripheral joints. So here is Bhagyashree for you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As Sudhiji just mentioned, I'm going to talk about predominantly how this lockdown has affected our musculoskeletal health, which is the key element at this stage. Not only that, I'm going to talk a few things about the efficiency of the respiratory muscles and the role of the respiratory care in the COVID-19 situation. So let's talk about first the factors at this stage which affect the MSK health, musculoskeletal. Now, as you can see in the slide, the physical factor, we are working from home, we're going to have poor ergonomics, we've got poor workstation, poor posture, we've got psychological factors like you have got a fear of damage, social factor, you've got difficult relationship, you've got problems with redundancy leading to stress, and all the stress related chemical changes actually have an impact on the mechanoreceptor. Mechanoreceptors are the receptor which helps in easing the pain, and this is get altered, which is why we feel the pain even more. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so these are the common problem that we get due to poor posture. It may look really simple, it's only posture, but it's actually not. I'm sure you all have heard about sciatica, disc bulge or disc prolapse, nerve entrapment, tennis elbow. So it varies from in a broad range. You could have sciatica in a lower form where you only have back pain, to leading to nerve entrapment, losing of sensation from the legs, and so on. It's altogether a broader topic. But I today want to focus on the key principle of management, simple management that you could do at home to avoid any further complication. Can we go to the next slide, please? So in these conditions, for example, you've got sciatica or disc bulge due to wrong positioning of sitting, you bend forward to lift your kid up and suddenly you get the disc prolapse, disc bulge. So what are your do's and don'ts? A lot of time it's the fear of problem that leads to more issues. As per the NICE guideline, back pain, the general back pain can be managed very well with self-management. Now the do's are be active and listen to your pain symptom, because a pain is a good indicator. If there is something which is inhibiting you, then avoid it. So your do's should be being active, use traditional method like hot water bottle, gentle massage, and be active, walk around rather than rest. So your don'ts are really avoid any intense or sudden medication. Say, for example, we all tend to get a higher dose of cocodamol or naproxen or ibuprofen. As per the usual guideline, it's best to stick paracetamol, because paracetamol is a painkiller. It will reduce your pain and it will enable you to be active and do some gentle exercises, which is going to help your back. As opposed to ibuprofen, it may help in the initial days, but be very cautious under the precaution. I'm going to emphasize more on medication interaction. So people who have got pre-existing conditions like heart problems, gastric ulcers, asthmatic, so you could have various other elements and you may not realize how things like ibuprofen interact with them and you can get secondary problem. So the idea is to really stick to simple principle, gentle exercises, heat and paracetamol, rather than going into some medication which can cause other problems. And the most important thing is be aware of red flags. I'm not sure how many of you actually are familiar of red flags. So red flags are the signs and symptoms when you get it, you need medical or urgent attention. And we need to be aware of these. Simple back pain with simple nerve entrapment can be managed, but you've got to be very, very conscious about symptoms like sudden unplanned weight loss. You've developed back pain from last 2 weeks, but at the same time, you're generally not quite well. You've lost appetite. You've lost more than 10 kgs in last month or so, and then suddenly you have sexual dysfunction. You've got erectile dysfunction. You can't control your urine or bowel. Let's suppose you can't feel when you're passing on, or your sensation in the genital area has completely altered. You can't feel. Now, these are the symptoms which are red flags and you need medical, urgent medical attention. So ranging from simple back pain, simple musculoskeletal element to the urgent one, it's important that we are aware and we know the do's and don'ts. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so again, the management in the new onset and somebody who has got existing musculoskeletal problem. People who have got existing back pain, they probably are more aware how to control it, but it's difficult when you have got a new onset of be it back pain, be it muscle ache, RSI, either way. So in that case, there are recommended, my suggestion would be not to Google. Dr. Google it can be sometimes very harmful. We've got evidence-based website, which I'm going to share at the end of my presentation. So you could actually self-help yourself. You can go into those websites and look for, a proper advice. So medication-wise, again, even if it's a new onset, stick to the basic medication. You could take anti-inflammatory, but remember to consider your pre-existing medical condition. I'm going to show you some self-help exercises in my coming slides. So this is, again, as I mentioned in the do's and don'ts, you can just do any exercises if you develop any form of back pain or any form of thoracic pain. You need to note down your signs and symptoms. Let's suppose you got back pain suddenly and you're really struggling to bend forward, then this is the exercise you got to avoid. You cannot do this because, as you can see, it replicates bending your spine. Whereas in some cases, you may have difficulty in standing upright or lean backward. Now, in that case, this is the gold standard exercises, what we call as global posture or prayer position. Very easy to remember, prayer position. And this is a fantastic exercise for people who work and in a desk. If you spending more time at your desk, you're slouching, your posture is bad, this is a really good exercise. Next slide, please. Okay, now this is a gold standard exercise considered for sciatic or discogenic back pain. Again, as I said, most commonly you will have restriction in bending forward. So this is a key exercise where you can gain the mobility, what we call as cobra position in yoga. Can we go to next slide? Okay, and this is a gold standard exercise for any form of back pain, but after 1 week, after you get rid of the acute pain, this is the exercise which can strengthen your back and you can prevent any future flare-up. Can we go to the next slide? And as you can see, that's the longest nerve of the body, the sciatic nerve, which is very commonly compressed, even with disc bulge, with common back pain. And this could eventually lead to foot drop and many more complications. So a simple stretch to like this to sciatic nerve can really help to manage this. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, now this is a very, I love it. This is personally my favorite. So imagine if you've got a 5-pound note at the middle of your spine and you do not want to let it go down. So this, if you keep that in mind, every time you're working on your desk, your computer, just keep squeezing your shoulder blades. Very simple, and you can do it every 10-15 minutes. And trust me, that can correct a lot of musculoskeletal problem. Can we go to the next slide? Another one, just opposite to how we sit. We all sit in a slouch posture. So this is exactly the opposite. So you're doing against the gravity and it can maintain a good posture. Next slide. This is an ideal posture, ergonomics. If you want to just check later on and adjust your ergonomic or workstation at your home, that'll be brilliant. Next slide, please. Again, the same. We can move into next slide. Can we move into the next? Yeah. Now, this is a very important thing in the present scenario, the breathing efficiency in COVID-19. So what has caused the main issue in COVID-19 is it's highly communicable, but symptom-wise, people have either acute respiratory distress syndrome, like more pneumonia-like symptoms. And the second thing is we develop dyspnea, breathlessness. Okay, so from the slide, I can see there's a lot of noise. Okay, in the slide, I want you to focus on active cycle of breathing technique. It's really important. Now, what is the main issue of COVID-19? We get, when people get pneumonia, you will get lung infection. That's when you need ventilator support and other things. So this is a key element where there are few stages where when you develop some chest infection, I'm talking about even general population who do not know if they're COVID positive. So if you've got a general infection and you develop a phlegm or mucus in your lungs, a very simple technique at home to get the phlegm or the mucus out of the lungs so that the infection doesn't arise is very important. And this active cycle of breathing technique has actually three, due to a constraint of time, I'm not going into detail, but there are 3 phases where you can do it by self. So I want you all to practice. It's really simple, 3-stage. So just relax first and then take a deep breath. When you take the deep breath through your nose, and then you can feel your whole lungs are filled with air, and you hold the position for at least few seconds so that you let all the air filled in your lungs, and that can cause a sucking mechanism. It can suck all the mucus up, and from the smaller airways, it goes to the broader airways, and then you breathe out through your mouth. Now, this is the 2nd stage. The 3rd stage is called huffing. You stand in front of a mirror and imagine if you're huffing out all your breath as if you're forming a steam in the mirror. Now, in this technique, you're already getting the phlegm or the mucus up towards the upper respiratory tract in the broader one. And the last phase is coughing. You do an intense cough where it effectively your mucus or your phlegm comes out. So this sounds maybe very simple, but trust me, when you do that, all your inflammatory or infected mucus comes out, and you can manage your infection even without relying on other factors. So that's very important. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is the breathing exercises, which is really, really important, not only for the general population, but also somebody who already had pre-existing asthma, COPD, because they really need to be careful about dyspnea. A dyspnea is a term, a medical term for breathlessness. It's nothing but air hunger, when you're a lack of air or oxygen. And that can happen with anyone who's doing exercises outside, high altitude one. So be very careful of two things. If you have tendency to develop dyspnea or breathlessness, have your bronchodilator always with you. So if you're thinking you're going to go breathless, use that. A simple breathing exercise is called, which is not there, I apologize, it's called pursed lip deep breathing exercise. I repeat, it's pursed lip breathing exercise. It's really simple. Deep breathe in through your nose, hold it for 8 to 9 seconds, and then do an exhale out through your mouth, really gentle. You can have a look. I've pasted the links in my last slide. You can have a look on these things. These are the simple measures that we can take, to avoid a certain situation in COVID. So these are the references, evidence-based. You can have a look. And if you've got any question, I'm there. You can feel free to share. And that's all. Stay safe. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Bhagyashree. I'm sure this is going to help each one of us, because the situation we are all in today, most of us are working from home, and we may not have a proper working desk at the moment at homes, and because kids are working from home, we are working from home. So somebody is working on couch, somebody is sitting on a bed or something. So this is really going to help. Thank you. Okay, finally, our last speaker tonight is Dr. Simi Sachdeva Mohan. Simi has been practicing psychiatry since 1995, and she's a gold medalist from Bombay University, sorry, for her MD. She has been a consultant psychiatrist since 2009. She has also been recently awarded the fellowship of the Royal College of Psychiatrists here for her recognition for the excellent work she has been doing. She's today going to mainly cover psychological issues during the lockdown. Yeah, over to you, Simi.
Thank you so much. Charlotte, today I'm going to be the poster girl for long hair and gray roots. Thank you for your presentation. That was really helpful. Going on to the psychological well-being during the pandemic lockdown. Now, one of the most common things that we are seeing at the moment is the stress and the anxiety. And there are a lot of causes for this, all of which are very valid causes. Worry about financial strain on people who are not being able to get the monies that they would have done otherwise, the prospect of a job loss, inability to get essential items and medications. Working from home is a new experience for many people, especially those who are shielding, and they have to be doing that for 3 months. Shielding is for those people who are considered as very high-risk groups, so they cannot go back to their workplace for a period of total of 3 months, and that might get extended further. Homeschooling as a non-working parent, where you're not used to teaching your children on a regular basis, but you have to take on the role of a teacher as well. Managing working from home and homeschooling is very challenging, because I'm sorry that there is, can somebody mute themselves, please? May I please ask you to mute yourself? Thank you. I'm sorry you've gone far. Can you go back to the old slide, please? Excuse me, you've gone ahead. Can you please go back to the old slide? The lockdown is causing a lot of strain in personal relationships. This is being especially evidenced in those who are victims of domestic violence. Social isolation is a big problem, where we are not being able to meet our family and friends. Those who have a pre-existing mental illness are struggling. Those who have a pre-existing physical illness are struggling as well, because they're so concerned about the impact of the possibility of having COVID with their physical illness, which is causing a lot of stress. And we all know that age, of course, is a very, very predominant factor in the repercussions of having the COVID-19. Next slide, please. So first of all, what I want to say is that please accept that anxiety is a normal reaction, and all of us are going to be feeling anxiety at various different levels, and it will be manifesting itself in various different ways. For every individual, it'll be different. So you might have mild sleep disturbances, you're worried about your future, you're worried about your finances, you're worried about your loved ones getting infected. Especially for somebody like me who's a doctor, I go out of my house every single working day, and if I do own calls. I live with 4 high-risk individuals. So when I come home, I have to self-isolate myself in one room of the house. And this is a worry that all of us have. Every person who is stepping out, even to do their essential shopping, are worried about what they're going to get back to the home with them, worrying about oneself getting infected. I have been in self-isolation previously before the self-testing was available in the UK, and I know how scary that can be. Again, the fear about being quarantined and in being in self-isolation, anger about why are things like this? What have we done to deserve it? These are normal reactions, accept them. And of course, the sadness of being away from loved people, which is so important for all of us. Next slide, please. So what can we do? First of all, asking questions like, why me? It's not going to be helpful, because you're going to have all kind of negative thoughts come in when you ask, why me? What can you do about it? Is a more useful approach to have. You have to be mentally prepared that there's a possibility that we will hear news which is not good. We might hear news about loved ones of loved ones who have got affected, or some have recovered, some have not recovered. So we have to follow the safety measures the government has put in. Next slide, please. So most important, have an open and fact-based discussion with your family members to reduce their anxiety. Reassure your family that about your own safety and the precautions you're going to take whenever you step out. Children need a lot of reassurance. They have been such champions in today's day and age that they have been stuck in the house, not being able to do what a normal child would do, and having to do the homeschooling, not being able to get out. They have been troopers. You have to reassure them that all of this will eventually come to an end, and to allay their anxieties, because they can pick up on your anxiety. So if you are going to be stressed all the time, children will feel the stress as well. So be a role model and always emphasize on the positive outcome, because that's what family are looking for. And please, please, please keep in touch with your family members, especially the ones who are elderly, those who are away from you, those who are worrying about you as well. Next slide, please. So how do you keep yourself healthy? Find reliable sources of information. WhatsApp news is not news. Please accept it. Facebook is not news. Rely on one local and one national news that you will follow, so that you get actual genuine information. Do not believe everything that you see on social media. Have conversations with friends and family about other things than COVID-19, about your cooking skills. Good one, very good stress reliever. Share your new recipes that you're coming up with during the lockdown. Limit the discussions you have about COVID-19 with friends and family. And please include the positive news about COVID-19. People are recovering. Let's focus on that. Next slide, please. So, stop looking in a projected future. Stop worrying what's going to happen next. I know it's easier said than done, but that is where mindfulness comes in, and living in the here and now comes in. Because when we think about the future, we can think about all kinds of negative things that can happen in the world, but live in the now, which is going to be very important, because that's how you're going to cope with anxiety. Look at exercising as a form of release, whether it's intense exercise that you prefer, whether it's cardio, whether it is weights, whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, whether it's mindfulness, whatever works for you, do that. And then, I'm sorry, could you go back to the old slide? Use your non-work time as a non-work time, especially for those who are working from home. Limit it to your 9-to-5 job hours. Do not carry the job further on, because you're going to just end up stressing yourself more. One of the things which studies have shown is that when you do something for somebody else, that makes you feel a lot more better about yourself. So volunteer if you can, if you have the ability to do so, or if you can help anybody in any small capacity. You can do your next door elderly neighbor's shopping when you go for your essential shopping. That itself will be giving you a feel-good factor. Be gentle to yourself. It is okay to be worried. It is okay to feel inadequate. It is okay. Let yourself feel the emotions. It is very important that you acknowledge the emotions and not ignore them. Have a daily routine. Eat a good diet so that at the end of it, you are still feeling healthy when all of it comes to an end. And please, please, please stay connected with your friends and family. Most important. Next slide. Okay, so some of us are going to feel the anxiety far more than what other people are going to feel. And some of us are going to have symptoms of depression, anxiety, OCD, which is getting exacerbated. We are facing a lot more than what we would have faced otherwise. It's fine to feel that. Seek support if you are feeling that you're struggling. There are many, many, many telephone helplines that are available. Reach out to a mental, next slide, please. So I have already talked about all of this: cooking, music, exercise, connectedness, Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever you want to do. But some of us, this would not be enough. And it's okay to acknowledge that you're struggling, because I think that's very important. Many of us don't want to accept that we need help. So please, my advice would be, next slide, please. Look at the manifestations of stress. Feeling negative, feeling irritable, mood swings, hopelessness, helplessness, negative thoughts, insomnia, increase in use of alcohol or other substances. These are signs that you are not dealing appropriately with the stress, and that you need to look at some additional help if you can. Next slide, please. So it's okay to ask for help. There are so many helplines that are available. I'm more than happy to share the resources if somebody wants them, or if somebody wishes to contact me or any other person in that area or field that you're struggling with. We can put you in touch with that particular specialty. Next slide, please. So just ending with some wise words from Rumi. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. So please be kind to yourself and accept change. We can do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simi. Thank you for your insight, Simi. Hopefully we can all implement these useful advices into our lives. Okay, in the end, I would like to say a big thank you to all of our panelists who have taken time out, spent a lot of time doing these presentations and preparing the content, which I'm sure each one of us will benefit from. Looking at the questions, our backend team has been looking at the questions on the chat window, and there have been some duplicate questions which we have tried to come up with a unique list of questions. I would like to ask those questions to our panelists. I think this one is for Sapna. Any other medical conditions which could affect oral health?
Yeah, hi. That's a very good question, actually. There are many conditions which affect oral health. The main being high blood pressure, diabetes, stomach ulcers, acid reflux, and chronic kidney disease. These are the main ones. They do affect the oral health.
Thank you, Sapna. Hopefully that answers the questions that somebody asked. Another one is, how can a psychic help in mental health? I'm not sure whether it's for Simi or...
I'm sorry, I can't answer about psychics because that's not my area of specialization. I'm a doctor by
Anyone else who can pick it up?
I can take
Yeah,
that.
it could be Priya, and we can talk about it. So Priya, do you want to go first? And then maybe I can add something to it. Priya, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think an example would be, for example, a tarot reader. So when you actually ask the question, sometimes when you go to an expert, you already know the answer to the question. And when they take out those cards, they basically, it's not that they would take out like those specific cards, and they'll try and take out those cards and connect with your subconscious mind. But by the end of the session, you will feel physically that the stress level has gone down. And a lot of this happens because you talk out your problems and you talk them out. So that's how a psychic can help, by talk therapy. And that's basically something which is very much in the psychic space. So yeah. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I can add to this on from a Reiki and a spiritual healing standpoint. So, I mean, so psychology, psyche, psycho, sort of all same words, and eventually it's primarily to do with the psyche of a person, the spirit, eventually, and when the body, as I was showing before, when the mind, body, and the spirit, they are out of coherence, then the problem starts happening. Now, any psychic, to start with, can help in analyzing the problem, because the first step to solve the problem is to find that we have a problem and find what the root cause of the problem is. Now, one of the great things about these spiritual healings or naturopathies, it finds the root cause and it treats the root cause of the symptom. To give you an example, if you're having fever, the allopathy will give you ibuprofen or sort of medication which will just suppress the symptoms of the fever, but not the root cause, what has actually caused the fever, like viruses attacking your body and your antibodies are fighting against it, that's causing the fever. So in sort of naturopathy treatments or psychic treatments primarily, it's very important to get down to the root cause of the problem. And most of the psychic cases, I have personally done a lot of psychic cases where I found mostly the root causes lying in sort of in traumas, in childhood traumas, or someone passed away, they can't move on, love affair relationships. So those sort of whatever happens to us, they actually get embodied to our psyche, and then they reflect in a form of a disease, a mental disease eventually. So to the question, yes, psychics are a very powerful tool to analyze those problems and then step ahead to kind of fix those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Nimit. That was very well explained. Another one I have got on list is probably for Bhagyashri. Is it a good idea to take painkillers like paracetamol, especially ibuprofen, for a longer period of time?
I think I've just replied back to the comment, but no.
You have actually, somebody else also asked a similar question. So
yeah, no problem. So yeah, the simple answer to this question is it all depends your medication history and medical history. So my recommendation would be take simple painkillers like paracetamol, preferably, and not long term, absolutely, because ibuprofen usual doses or naproxen is ibuprofen is 400 mg three times a day, and it should be taken for 4-5 days. It's just meant for inflammation, and if it's not work, it shouldn't be taken long term, like 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks. No, absolutely not, because it has got negative effect on GI system. It can cause ulcer and many more. The list is endless. So a simple answer to this question is no, you should not be relying on painkiller long term. If there is something that you're suffering as a long term problem, say relying on simple medication like paracetamol or simple pain killers like heat, hot water bag or bottle, or cold therapy, gentle massage should be preferable.
thank you very much, Bhagyashri. Okay, I think that's it. And if you have any further questions, like I said in the beginning, you can always email us. I'm going to put up the email address of Mangalam Group, and I'm also putting the link to the survey site where you can give us your valuable feedback. Based on that, we are going to design our content of our forthcoming sessions. Yeah, if you give me a minute, I'll be putting it there. Or Nimit, have you got access to the chat window? If you can put it up there.
Yeah, let me just stop sharing the screen and do it. 1 second.
And also, I wanted to just conclude and say that if you feel you can't afford like an expert session and you want one, then please feel free to write to us at admin@theaurapower.com, and we will make sure that we have an expert to talk to you, for no price at all. So yeah, but we have also issued a discount code today, so you can go and see.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks for that, Priyanka.
I think the same applies to if somebody who wants to talk
you can
about
simply
it,
click on the download link and make use of the discount code.
Sorry, I was just mentioning the same applies to if someone needs any suggestion or advice regarding that MSK help or any kind of health ailment that we can help, then please, yeah, do contact us directly.
And I would like to reiterate the same thing, that if people want to have a conversation with me, I won't be charging for you for any kind of consultation. So please feel free to contact me if you wish to discuss your mental health in any way.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Just one note, we've just added the feedback form, plus there is an email address there from Mangalam and one for Aura Power. Just reach out to us and be part of Mangalam. You know, we're in touch with all the experts, and also Aura Power is the platform where you can book yourself directly. As all the panelists are saying, we are here to support the community, and it's for a good cause. So please reach out to us for your questions, concerns. Anyone need any sort of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual sort of healing advices, we are all around there to support each other. And thank you very much, everyone, for the time.
Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. See you again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Still there.
Okay, everyone, I will end the meeting now.
And
Yeah, please.
you need to stop recording.